Welcome to this short race management video. My name's Andy Foskett from Staunton Harold Sailing Club, and we're going to cover the following topics: start lines, recalls, courses, recording, when to shorten, and safety. So let's start with start lines, and this image here is a good example of a large fleet, a long line, a square line. And notice the burgee with the two cable ties. Easy way to just check you've got a square line. Sailors want choice. They want choice and fairness, and what we need to give them is a long line, so everyone has the same opportunity to reach windward mark at the same time. In our single fleet starts for 2026, we could get 20 plus boats, so we need to give a long start line to give everyone opportunity to get away cleanly. If we have a bias line, in this example, a 50 boat length line at 10 degrees starboard bias means that the boats at the port end are 9 boat lengths further from the windward mark than those at the starboard end. So only a handful of boats are going to start at the starboard end. It's going to be chaos. As an OOD, you're just making work for yourself. Probably a general recall. So keep the line square, keep it long enough. ISAF say we should allow 1.5 boat lengths per boat on the water. So for 20 boats, that's 30 boat lengths, 3 metres a boat, so that's nearly 100 metres. We can rarely give that amount, but it shows you that we need to give long start lines. Just a note on race box starts. If you do use the race box rather than committee boat, I think it does limit your choices, but if you need to do that, then within our sailing instructions it does say that you have to use the transit, which is the 2 triangles on the race in front of the race box, and line the transit up with the outer distance mark of your start line. There's also an orange pole on the shore, and this can be used as well, but bear in mind you do need the transit. The orange pole isn't in the sailing instructions, it's just there to help the sailors. If it doesn't line up with your start line, either move your outer distance mark or don't use the orange pole. Use a chair or a tyre or something on the shoreline if you want to give the sailors an inner marker. But it's the outer distance mark and the transit that represent the line in the sailing instructions. When you're on station, ready to start the race, then display the orange flag, and you must have the course up before the warning signal. Recalls, we have the individual or general recalls. Individual is when you can identify all the boats on the course side at the start, in which case you make a note of them, you give 1 extra sound and fly the X flag. They've then got 4 minutes to return behind the line and restart, at which point you can lower the flag. If it's a general recall and you can't identify all the boats that are on the course side, then you need to make 2 sound signals and fly the first substitute flag. And when you're ready to restart, you can take your time to do this, but when you're ready to restart, you need to give the sailors 1 minute warning that you're going to go back into the sequence. So you give 1 sound, remove the first substitute flag, and exactly 1 minute later you start your new start sequence. Courses. Sailors need to have a good, fair course with plenty of options, and usually the tactical legs are the beat and the run. So we need to give them a good long beat. If you can't give them a long beat, then give them 2 short beats. And one of the things we use are these little maps that you can print off from the club computer. They're not always an accurate guide because marks do move, but they're a good starting point. And mark on the map the wind direction, and when you mark the wind direction, you can then start to estimate some courses. I always mark the wind shadows. So, for instance, in this diagram, I've marked the wind shadow on the bank there and try to avoid any marks that are going to be affected by the wind shadows. That will gain you a lot of favour with the sailors, because We all know that you can sail a really good race, but when you're in the lucky dip of a wind shadow, then some people win, some people lose, and it's generally down to luck rather than skill. So if we can keep away from those marks, that's ideal. Think about the wind strength, because you need to have lap times that you can manage and decide when to shorten the course. If you've got light winds and a really long course, you can find yourself unable to shorten the course for the slower boats without them having to sail over an hour. So shorter courses in light winds, longer courses in windier conditions. Okay, we've got a few more courses here. It's good to keep a range of courses, maybe log your own courses if you think you've had a good one, or seen a good course or sailed a good course. Keep a note of it in your own little course book. There are some recommended courses on the committee boat for you to look at and suggestions, but it's good to keep your own. Okay, talking about reaches, they can be less tactical than beats and runs, but nonetheless they're great fun. Try and maybe have a slightly tighter reach for the single-handers and a broader one, or a couple of broad reaches for the spinnaker boats. Use of gates, so quite often we use the start line and the finish line, but also use that line as a gate every lap and make boats come through the gate. This is good for recording purposes, but does restrict the sailors' options, as they might want to tack off hard left or hard right because of pressure or wind shift. So consider whether it's necessary to use a gate or not. If you're running a Wednesday night single race, you perhaps don't need a gate. If you've got a big fleet and you want to be sure of recording everyone, then maybe you do need a gate. If you're running back-to-back races and don't want to move your start line, then it's perhaps good to have a gate. But just think about whether you need it or not. So in this bottom example here, you've got a Mark 5 just below the start-finish line. That represents a short distance between one mark and the gate. Don't have a gate if you've got a longer distance between the leeward mark and the line, because you're really restricting sailors' options as their approach to the finish line or to the gate. Safety, I think it's really important to have a safety briefing, just because it's good for team spirit. Get everyone together, get to know each other, establish comms, try and use sensible comms names rather than first names. If you've got two safety boats, then I would suggest discussing how you're going to manage it. My favourite is the football pitch method, which is split the racetrack into two halves. Both halves have touch lines. One boat operates in one half on one touch line and the other in the other on the opposite touch line, facing inwards. If somebody in one half needs a capsized boat needs attention, then whilst that safety boat's tied up, then the other one moves to the centre line and covers the whole pitch, and then they both go back to their respective areas. Discuss particular danger areas. So once you know what the course is going to be, think about jibe marks as being the highly likely areas of greater safety cover, and avoid putting a jibe mark in on the dam wall if it's really windy, because you run out of time before your boat's on the dam wall. Recording of the laps and recording of the finishes. We have various options. So traditionally we use the OOD score sheet and a radio clock or a GPS watch. We suggest you don't use a watch that's not GPS, because most sailors have now got GPS watches, so we will all have exactly the same time showing on our watches as you do on the committee boat. This allows sailors to preempt when you're likely to be sounding signals, and it also aids recording because it's a standard time. So before you In your preparation on the committee vote, I would suggest on the top of the score sheet you write down your proposed start time and the time 3 minutes and 6 minutes prior to that. So you've got those times locked in, and should anything go wrong, you've got things that you can refer to, times you can refer to. So the traditional method, I think, is still very successful. Take the clipboard out. If you've got an assistant, one person records, the other shouts out the times and hoots as people go through. And this works very well and reliably, and is probably the best way to do it in a big fleet. If you've got a smaller fleet, then you can use the full-on dinghy sailing race control app, which is on the tablet, such as the one that is shown in this image. And there's a whole video on that. It involves entering competitors, but you can time them coming through the line, and you can time them to finish and get instant results based on handicap. So it's a full racing program. The only thing is you would have to still put in the put the results into Sailwave, because we can't do that any other way. And then you've got a sort of an in-between method which we could recommend, and that is that we use the tablet, which has got the timer on it, to help you start races and prompt us to prompt which flags to put up, makes sound signals through Bluetooth to the horn, and will allow you to record elapsed times and also finish boats with a hoot and record the time on the screen. And we've done a full video on that, which I'll put a link in the description. So what we recommend probably for 2026 is take your clipboard, use the radio clocks, and have a go with the race timer, just without any competitors, but just to assist with starting and recording times. When to shorten the course, we know that the target time is generally sort of 50-60 minutes. If it's a really windy day, then you probably will want a slightly shorter race. People are getting tired, maybe cold, but we don't want races really less than 40 minutes and not more than 70 minutes. As boats come through during the race, record the lap times. This helps you decide how many laps the slow and the fast boats are going to do. Usually the faster boats will end up doing maybe one lap more than the slower boats, but it will vary depending on the wind strength and the size of the course. The aim is to finish all the boats in the smallest window possible so that they all sail in the same kind of wind. It makes it fair for everyone. So generally the faster boats will do a little bit more, and it's just a matter of finding a gap and maybe letting the fast boats go through and then putting the shortened course up with 2 hoots, and this happens on the last lap. You must put the blue flag up before you put the shortened course flag up, but try not to put that blue flag up until you're on the last lap and you're going to finish. Put the shortened course flag up as the boats come round the last mark, but you have got until the boats actually reach the finish line in order to put that flag up. So if you need to wait for a fast boat to go through before putting the flag up, that's fine, so long as you do it before the first boat that you want to finish crosses the line. If there are children sailing oppies, toppers, and they are maybe only doing one lap because they're either a bit slower than the rest of the fleet or they may be getting tired, then it's quite normal to give them a finish, but rather than using the S flag and proper horns, just maybe give them a whistle or tell them that they've finished as they cross the line, and this saves alarming the rest of the fleet by showing signals and flags. A little bit on finish codes. Got often a bit of confusion about this, but when and we'll cover this more in Sailwave, but the DNF is the general standard for a retirement, so did not finish. Boats that retire with a DNF, they score the number of races in that race +1. DNS, that did not start, that means that maybe you came to the start area intending to start but you capsized and went in, that you still get the same as a DNF, so scores number of races +1. If you are over the line at the start and don't come back, or disqualified for some other reason, then you are the number of races +2. And if you did not compete, did not turn up on the day, then you score the number of entries in the whole series +1. If you do a duty, then you can allocate a duty code, and this allows Sailwave to work out the average of all your sailed races. So it ignores your DNCs and averages out all the other duties. And that concludes this short video. Thank you.